welcome Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Big day for sports today on a lot of levels. And it's not the Nuggets taking on the Grizzlies tonight. It is Gabriel Landeskog playing for the Colorado Eagles in game one of his, for lack of a better phrase, rehab stint to see if he's going to be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, a 3-game opportunity. I can't imagine he's going to play in a back-to-back, Eric. Maybe that's what he does. But what I've heard is a couple of skates tonight, a couple of shifts perhaps. We'll see, and then they basically will see where they go from this point. I am really excited for Gabe. I guess it could be for the Avalanche beyond that, but I'm really excited for Gabe Landeskog, a guy that both of us really, really like and respect, a guy that's earned everything that he's ever gotten in this game, a guy that has worked so hard to get back after 3 years of basically being on the sideline. Just to see him have this moment, I think will be a joy. And I hope against all hope that it goes well enough that he's encouraged to move forward and that maybe we see him in some capacity in the playoffs with the Avs. I was making the bed this morning, Eric, thinking about this.
Good for you.
Yeah, you're darn right, buddy. You're darn right. But I was thinking about this very thing. I think
I don't want to know, Bruce, listen, I don't want to know that you're thinking of Gabe Landeskog and your bed.
No, I wasn't thinking of it that I wasn't thinking of it that way, but thank you for dragging the show into that. I always appreciate that. I really do. But I was thinking about just how momentous this must be for him. Can you imagine trying to come back after something that you've missed 3 years doing, that you've had to totally reinvent yourself and the way that you actually skate? Think about it if you and I had to learn how to, walk again from scratch, right? He's learning how to do the most basic things from scratch, learning how to skate again at a high level. If he can make this work, it would be one of the great stories I think that we've covered in Denver in many, many years. We got a long way to go, but tonight is a first good step.
And he really has no blueprint on how to do it.
No, none at all.
Like he had a whole bunch of people to talk to. The doctors told him what to expect, but he didn't have a whole bunch of people to say, okay, what'd you do here? What'd you do here? What'd you do there? Picture working on anything in life for 3 full years. Then it's finally the day that you get to execute everything that you've been practicing. But 3 years, that is something. In the meantime, I want to tell you about Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos up in Blackhawk. They have another great promotion going on right now. They're going to be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash instead the weekend of May 23rd. Get final entries every 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings, and that's going to be every 45 minutes by redeeming players' points. All cash drawings, daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesday, which is a cool thing because that can turn into extra cash for you as well. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Music on the show that has been published. That's the way it usually works with podcasts. Is that correct, Alex?
That's correct.
You spend a lot of money for it. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct, isn't it, Alex?
Yep.
Okay. With that, unfortunately, we will not be able to play Don Henley's song, Dirty Laundry. but I think that'd be an appropriate bet. And that was a long way to get to a joke as Alex froze up. So my bad on that, Bruce. I probably moved along. Tommy on that just sucked. Anyway, Sam Amick and Tony Jones of The Athletic wrote an article exposing what is going on in the Nuggets organization and what was going on before Malone and Booth got fired. They wrote all isn't well in the Nuggets locker room. They reported, quote, the franchise's most important players, including Jokic, had grown frustrated and fatigued by Malone's fiery ways, and the bottom started to fall out in mid-March. And after the loss to the Washington Wizards, rival teams began to hear Jokic's patience was wearing thin with the sad state of affairs. Bruce, if all of this is true, and I have no reason to believe it is not true, I said when we found out that Malone got fired, I didn't have a problem with it because I felt his message had gone stale, that they tuned him out. I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't have given him a chance to probably go into the playoffs after everything that he has done. But once you have lost the locker room, I'm sorry, it is time to go. It dates back to March. So with that, was it the right decision to fire Malone when they did with 3 games to go in the regular season, now that we know what we know now?
Well, the question is, how much precursor was there before, for instance, the Washington game? I'm also hearing the ending of the Minnesota game when Russell Westbrook had essentially a pretty solid meltdown. And afterwards, by the way, somewhat oddly, even at the time, was defended by Michael Malone, somewhat vigorously, but it seemed out of place at the time. And now you have the background that is being provided on this, and it starts to make some sense. My biggest problem with this, Eric, would have been if you had some feel or earlier on this season, and if you and I, who are not there every single day, can see this, then those that are up there every single day, and there's a pretty good cadre of Nuggets journalists that are very respected, watching these guys day to day, this should have been something or other that was seen starting to take form, a good time ago. And I just will go back to 3 days left in the regular season. To me, is never an ideal time to take a chance on doing something so seismic, something that shakes the franchise so viciously at the core, not just the head coach, but the general manager. I will always take exception to making this move with 3 days left in the regular season. Now, look, I could have mud thrown on that argument if they finish strong, go on and win a series or two or whatever in the playoffs. And you know what? I'd be glad to be wrong, but that's not my sense. I would have liked to have seen this done because there were surely enough warning signs that could have been read somewhere along the way where this might have been a little bit more agreeable.
Agreeable to who?
Agreeable to the senses of Nuggets Nation that the right decision was made at the right time for the right reason. Oh, listen, I know. I'm not talking about fans in particular. I'm talking about just the entire scene of Nuggets basketball.
Bruce, after reading this article and knowing what we knew before and finding out other things, and I'll give you another doozy. The report also says the players began to lose faith in Malone after he gave Russell Westbrook special treatment. Right. And went on to say, quote, despite the frustration Westbrook was causing on and off the floor, which, oh, by the way, he has a rich history of, and, oh, by the way, it's Jokic who put his name on Westbrook to come here. So let's not, give Jokic a complete pass on this either. With everything that Westbrook was doing allegedly on and off the floor, it ultimately led to the loss of credibility among the team's key players. It was one thing when Malone handed Jokic and Murray more leniency than the rest of the group. This according to the article. But affording Westbrook that sort of treatment, even with his Hall of Fame resume, wasn't received well by some. Those are two big things. You're giving favored treatment to a guy who other guys in the locker room see as a problem. And then they see him on the floor. And while they like his energy, he's never been a particularly good decision maker. He's a terrific physical specimen. He's a guy who averaged a triple-double during the course of, 1 or 2 seasons?
Yeah.
He's an MVP. But at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook, at the stage of his career that he is at, does not deserve special treatment. Now, you can make the case there's probably a bunch of younger guys, and they should just get over it. But when you combine, here comes Russell Westbrook through the eyes of Michael Malone, and then Michael Malone's rah-rah is wearing thin and being publicly critical. For fans, this is what I say all the time about people. When you look at a marriage, or maybe you look at a relationship between a parent and a child, no matter how much you like that person, you could just adore them. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. You just don't. And now we're seeing what has gone on, allegedly, behind closed doors. So as much as we love Michael Malone, dynasty, and chugging beers and, being the man of the people where he's always willing to speak his mind, and, he seems like a really cool guy and he's tough on his players. We weren't there behind closed doors. I don't think there is a good time to fire a coach during the season, but obviously it became untenable.
Yes, I would agree with that. And let me just say this about Russell Westbrook, having been around him a fair amount, fairly good portion of his career, certainly early and now late, not in between. A little of Russell Westbrook goes a long way, and that can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. I think Russell Westbrook was good for the Nuggets right up until the point that he was bad. And I think that that's kind of how Russell Westbrook is. And I think he's kind of been that way through a lot of his career. An undeniable talent, an undeniable physical talent, but a guy that has certainly created waves anywhere that he has been. And when you put that against the backdrop of the perceived tension between Malone and Calvin Booth, particularly over the use of veterans compared to the younger players that Calvin Booth and the Nuggets had drafted and wanted to get an understanding of what they had with those players. And one could make the argument that they have been given ample time to do that. I'll leave that up to each person to make their own interpretation of that. But that just plays into the friction between two guys, which was a very real thing. It was not a good working relationship between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. And so now it starts to manifest itself in lots of different ways. And when all of a sudden now you're losing games to the Washington Wizards or blowing double-digit leads at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the most uncomely of ways, unsightly of ways, rather, then these are the types of things that you start looking at. So it doesn't surprise me that at the end of the day, here is where we are. I guess now for me, it's where we move forward to. And yeah, I mean, the timing will always be suspect to me. It bothers me. Maybe it does than other people, but it was obviously a move that Josh, right or wrong, felt needed to be made at the particular time. So and he's the one writing the checks. So off we go.
I hate to use this term, but would it be unfair to say that, for lack of a better phrase, Russell Westbrook, for a couple of different reasons, is a cancer in that locker room? I hate to use the word cancer, but at the end of the day, is he kind of a cancer in the locker room and on the floor? The way he is viewed and perceived by his teammates. Just a quick answer because I have a follow-up. Yes or no?
I don't know if I would.
Category?
I'm not sure I would
Fine.
go as far as cancer. No,
Well, I know he was with the Lakers. So give me another way to term it. Just give me another word, and then let me follow up.
I think that there is yes. I think the rules don't necessarily always apply to Russell Westbrook.
No, is he a big problem? Is that fair to say? Because we need to move on. Just come up with an answer.
I think
so
he certainly. Well, I think he probably came. I think he probably ended up being a big problem. I'm not sure that he was at all times this season. I don't know what the word would be.
Okay. Then
certainly a distraction.
Okay. With that, he's been a distraction pretty much everywhere he has been.
Yes,
that is
that's
just
true.
His personality. They knew what they were getting. So with that, excuse me for saying it this way, the golden child, Nikola Jokic, the greatest player in the world right now. Everybody loves the guy. He's so self-deprecating. His basketball IQ might be one of the highest in NBA history. All of us want him to win the MVP. If you're one of the guys in the locker room and you adore Jokic, as you should, and respect him, and throw him every single flower, in the botanical gardens. At what point do you look at Nikola Jokic and say, Nikola, you're the guy who brought him in here. You vouched for this guy. You brought him in here. Booth didn't bring him in here. Booth had no interest in bringing in Russell Westbrook. Nikola Jokic wanted him in the room. Period. I'm sure Malone did too. I can't imagine the players wanted him in the room. And in some ways, you look at superstars who try and build their own team. We just got a taste of that. And now I think we know what Nikola Jokic looks like as a talent evaluator. Not talent, but the complete package. Because there is a complete package. It's more than just talent. It's how do you fit into that locker room. And as we look back, because he's not going to be here next season for sure. I don't even know if he's going to finish out this season, right? Is it fair to say, Bruce, we could have predicted this, knowing Westbrook's history? But I want to get back to, real quick, two-part question. Could we have predicted this? And secondly, doesn't Jokic bear some of the blame for this?
Yes. Let me go from the back forward.
Let's stop protecting Jokic here. He's the guy who wanted him in.
Yeah, I don't know if he actively went out and recruited on the front lines Russell Westbrook. It may have been a nod. I don't know behind closed doors what the veracity of his role in getting Russell Westbrook in here. He clearly was okay with it. Fine. Should we have been able to see this? I think that was probably most people's concerns, right? I mean, we ended up being, let's not forget, we were pleasantly surprised with the way that Russell Westbrook was contributing with this basketball team, especially early on in the season. And really even into the middle part of the season, Russell Westbrook was getting increasing minutes. I didn't hear a lot of people, screaming from the highest mountaintop, why is this guy getting 24, 25 minutes a game? I mean, I think that people were generally okay with it, especially with Jamal being out as much as he's been. But the problem with Russell Westbrook is that he is a cumulative, he takes a cumulative effect on a basketball team. And it may not have even been Russell Westbrook. It may have been Michael Malone's reaction to Russell Westbrook that became a distraction, or things that were seen as unfair amongst other veterans for the for the treatment that he got. I will listen to all of that.
Let's hit a break and continue this conversation, because I have not had a good analogy at all this week, but I got a good one about Russell Westbrook next. Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
And welcome back, Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. I don't want to throw all of this on Russell Westbrook. It's not all on him.
No.
It's a combination. And it's kind of like a Venn diagram where a lot of it crosses over. You have Michael Malone, whose rah-rah criticism publicly was wearing thin. Is that number one? It was
yes.
Wearing thin on the players. Is that fair to say? That's
messages not
Russell
heard. Ignored. Right. Agreed.
Russell Westbrook challenges on and off the floor. And then here's the Venn diagram. Malone supporting, publicly giving special treatment to Russell Westbrook, despite the players seeing there were some challenges on and off the floor. That sum it up kind of right there. Those
I'd say you're right in the wheelhouse.
So I don't want to say it's those two guys, but in some ways it is those two guys throwing a heavy dash of Calvin Booth where Malone and him didn't get along, and I'm sure it caused tension. So it was just a bad pot of gumbo all the way around. But I want to say this one thing about Russell Westbrook, and here's my analogy. Russell Westbrook is like fresh milk. He's like fresh milk in the grocery store. Eventually, and you have no control over it, it's going to go sour. It tastes great until the expiration date, but it does have an expiration date. And Russell Westbrook is well past his expiration date. So when you said he started the season really well, I agree. Unfortunately, he probably had to play more minutes than I think even Malone wanted him to because of the injury situation to Jamal Murray. But eventually, when you buy milk, you know that if you don't finish it, eventually you will have to throw it away. You can't say that about soup. You can't say that really about graham crackers that last forever. Raisins could last through a nuclear holocaust. Milk is different, and milk is Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Eventually, you got to throw it away, and they'll put that out early.
Yeah, it's it's a really unfortunate finish to the story because it cost the Nuggets just on a few different levels. Obviously, where the team is now, where the team has been this season, but also a portion of Michael Malone's legacy. I mean, really, when you stop to think of it, I mean, we will all remember Michael Malone. Look, stay with me. We'll all remember Michael Malone for sitting up there at the parade and in his joy with those guys celebrating a championship, the only championship that has been delivered to Denver from the NBA or the ABA before it. But this was also a really unsightly end to his career. And you know what? You are going to remember this. I mean, there are incongruities in winning 515 games, counting the playoffs, becoming the franchise's winningest coach in the same season that you are unceremoniously fired with 3 games left in the season. We will remember that. That is something that if you and I are doing this thing 5, 6, 10 years down the road, it will be something or other in Denver sports lore that will come back. We don't know where the Nuggets will go from this point, but we know where they've been. And Michael Malone was a big part of that, a big positive part of that. But my God, it ended poorly. It just was a fractured, dysfunctional mess at the end. And that hurts a little bit. It just, for me anyway, it hurts a little bit.
So what do you do with Westbrook now? I'm not suggesting you get rid of him, but it seems pretty clear to me that David Adelman knows exactly what he wants to do. It's Jalen Pickett. And what I find interesting is when you look at the Nuggets bench before the season, what did we really know about Pickett and Strother? Peyton Watson, let's throw him in there as well, right? Hunter Tyson, we knew what Christian Brown was. With that, it seemed like Calvin Booth was the only one who truly believed in these young guys. Malone didn't. And if Jokic did, I don't think he would have pushed for Russell Westbrook, right?
I guess you could. Yeah, you could connect. Yeah, you could connect those dots. I wouldn't argue about that. It's funny now how after time it gives you a little bit of a different vision. We look at Pickett now and look at Jalen Pickett and the way that he's playing, and you can start to imagine the possibilities. I said yesterday, I was really glad to be wrong about a player. I think that this young man can be a part of the equation moving forward, right? He can be a part of the equation moving forward. I didn't see him as that. So I'm glad that I was wrong about that. And glad that Calvin Booth ended up being right about that. Oh, by the way, out the door you go. Okay, fine. I think that we will see a diminishing role for Russell Westbrook, who will play out the string and then be done in Denver. There is no logical picture moving forward that has Russell Westbrook in it for this basketball team, in my opinion.
You know, I look at Russell Westbrook today as I looked at Carmelo Anthony at the end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Your first ballot Hall of Famer, just go. I know that you want to play. I'm not suggesting it's tarnishing your legacy, continuing to play, but you're doing more. You're making money, I get it. You're getting to play in the NBA, I get it. But the public's view of you is like, we can do without you. Just, we're going to celebrate you when you go into the Hall of Fame, but it seems like for Carmelo Anthony, it was like, your game is so diminished at this point. I'm not going to say it looks like, Willie Mays. I'm not going to go that far.
No.
But for Russell West, for Carmelo Anthony, it was diminishing play. For Russell Westbrook, it's diminishing problems. He keeps having the same problems everywhere he goes. LeBron James wanted Westbrook, and then he couldn't get him out of the door fast enough. And Jokic was like, oh, yeah, bring him here. Bring him here. And now he wanted him in that locker room. And now, according to reports, the locker room wasn't good. Because of Malone and the way he would publicly criticize players. See, you and I praised Malone for doing that during the championship year, right? And
Sure.
You got to be honest. And it held players accountable. But eventually that message just wears thin. And you can see David Adelman in the locker room yesterday. There is no more Defensive Player of the Year chain. That's gone. It's gone. 1, 2, 3 family. This feels like a dysfunctional family probably in that locker room. I don't want to be yelling out family. Just yell out nuggets. That was Christian Brown's idea. Subtly, I think David Adelman sees what he saw was real, and subtly he's trying to make some changes.
Which is the only way that he can go, and it's the right way to go. He's had
some coaches will just take a bulldozer to it.
Well,
you can't being smart in the way he's handling it.
You can't reinvent the wheel with 3 games left in the regular season. I think that Adelman took a very good approach in, as you've said, subtly adjusting. The message is the same. It's being imparted differently. He already made a change. He already made a change in minutes with Russell Westbrook. That's probably more significant even than the message and how the message is being imparted, changing something on the floor. That's not subtle. That's something or other that changes the look of their team and the way that things operate. More power to him. We'll see how it looks tonight against Memphis and moving forward.
I want to ask you one quick thing before we go.
Sure.
Watching David Adelman, I'm thinking, have I ever seen a guy with a similar type of demeanor, just the way he carries himself? And I was thinking about him, like, even though I've never covered this guy, I have seen him from afar. And I'm like, and this is just my opinion, I'm curious to know what you think. David Adelman carries himself and presents himself publicly. And it feels like, this is just a guess, what he's like behind closed doors to Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins. Kind of a nerdy guy, not a big guy, doesn't really look like a football coach, doesn't really look like a basketball coach, kind of self-deprecating, very, very smart, very smart. You could tell he does care for his players like McDaniel does, but McDaniel's not cut out of the same cloth as most football coaches. Is that fair to say? When
yes.
You look at, if you lined up 10 football coaches, you would say one of these things doesn't look like the other, and that's Mike McDaniel. What he says, how he looks, how he carries himself. I think it's the same thing for David Adelman. It just seems like they're similar types of guys, kind of basketball, football nerds, but they really know their stuff, and they are well respected.
My comp would be for NBA, would be Brad Stevens, who was at Butler, and then the Boston Celtics now as an administrator in the league. He has a very calm, he has a very unthreatening way on the sideline. He's very calm with his message. His relatability to players is fairly obvious. We're seeing this with David Adelman, obviously. Let's not forget that, and David Adelman has been great about this. He's given credit where it's due, and the credit is to Michael Malone, who he's been with for over 10 years, for goodness sakes. I mean, everything that David Adelman takes, other than from his dad, Rick Adelman, who, of course, was a very successful coach in the NBA. But in terms of practical application and recentism, comes from Michael Malone. He's got the message. He's figuring out how the message needs to be imparted differently to tweak this basketball team, which has shown it can win during the season. There's 17 games over 500. We're not talking about a team that's a couple of games under 500 and is trying to play for the back end of the play-in round. This is a Nuggets team that can win. Get going, David Adelman.
Right.
You've got a
Real
great
quick before I let
opportunity.
you go.
Yep.
Yeah. Quickly, what do you have going on this weekend? Anything fun?
Very curious tonight on the Gabe Landeskog situation, which is where we started the show. Just really hoping good things for him. And then other than that, no, not too much. It's the kind of calm before the storm. We're getting ready for the draft, obviously. But I don't know, Eric. Are you going to get out on the golf course? You've got your Callaway on today, so I'm figuring maybe you're getting out on the golf course this weekend.
Going to Dallas tomorrow for an event, and then come back on Sunday. So it's a hectic weekend.
Well,
For the Rockwall Women's League, and it's a great nonprofit where that organization supports all of these other nonprofits in the area where they raise money and then give that money to these nonprofits. And they also provide scholarships for high school seniors in Rockwall County. Rockwall County is essentially a suburb of Dallas. That's what it is. So anyway, me and I are flying out there tomorrow.
Fantastic. And by the way, in advance, and you know I mean this very, really, I'm very pleased to be able to support your efforts from afar. The fact that you can make a difference in people's lives in a way that you do is commendable. I know it'll be a great event. Look forward to hearing about it on Monday.
I hope it's a good event. Have a great weekend, Alex. Have a great weekend, Bruce. This has been Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible weekend you can.